Hey, what's going on, people? Haven't done a video in a long while, but I wanted to get a review of Wonder Woman out on video. Um, just overall, I thought it was really well done. This is the first DC film I've liked since Man of Steel. Yes, I still like Man of Steel. I still would defend that film, although I do have some problems with it. But I still think Man of Steel was a pretty decent film. It wasn't perfect, but I gave it a decent score. But this was just, I thought this was really good. I'm gonna go see it two more times, but I thought it was just really good. DC, Warner Brothers. Hey man, you guys, Patty Jenkins, you guys nailed it. Now, one of the things I want to talk about first is the acting, and the casting choice of Gal Gadot. And I was definitely one of the people. She wasn't one of my first choices. I definitely was one of those people that was like, she didn't have the body type I was looking for. I was hoping they would get a little bit somebody that was more in shape, more muscular, and not the typical Hollywood type body, which she sort of has. I mean, she's a model first before she's an actress. So, and I was just kind of like hoping they would go with somebody a little bit different, because with a lot of female superheroes, a lot of them do have that same body type and they just look similar. And I was hoping that they would go a little bit more off the rails with the casting of Wonder Woman. But we got who we got, and there was that. And she got a lot of hate, not just from me, but from just pretty much everybody that was just like, nah, this isn't, she ain't gonna be able to pull this off. And then, of course, going into this, the DCEU had just put out, prior to Wonder Woman, they just put out Batman v Superman, which I didn't care for, and Suicide Squad, which I think is one of the worst movies ever made. Despite the fact that I liked the casting for the most part in that movie was just crap. And Batman v Superman just, it just didn't do it, man. It was a big step in the wrong direction, I thought, with that film. But this came along, and I just was like, okay, I hope they nail this one. I hope they get this one down, and they did. I mean, Gal Gadot was really good. I thought she was really good. She wasn't perfect, but Patty Jenkins was able to bring out something in her that made it work for Diana. So, big ups to Patty Jenkins and getting a performance out of Gal Gadot that maybe another director probably wouldn't have been able to do. I don't think if Zack Snyder had directed this film, he wouldn't have been able to get that performance out of her. I mean, she was arguably the best part about Batman v Superman, but she was in there for like minor bits and pieces, and of course her action set piece when she was helping Supes and Bats fight Doomsday was epic, but still, it was just hard to judge. But man, Patty Jenkins, you can tell Patty Jenkins really did her research on Wonder Woman on here, and big ups to her again. She was supposed to direct Thor 2 over at Marvel Studios, and Thor 2 was garbage in my personal opinion. But man, Marvel Studios, I think, missed out on that one, because man, if they had let Patty do her vision of Thor, I think we would have got a much better Thor sequel. But as it is, she's directing Wonder Woman, and hey, thank you for doing that, DC. Thank you and Warner Brothers for picking her up. Also, this is a big win in terms of female characters. I mean, this whole excuse that there is no audience for female characters and female superheroes, this movie takes that and throws it out the window. There's an audience there. The movie is still making big money, despite the fact the competition of The Mummy and Guardians 2, still it's kicking ass. So I'm happy about that. And I'm happy that this isn't like a split movie. Like, with DC's recent movies post Nolan, all of their movies have been so split down the middle. But general thoughts on this is that it's a good movie. People are really enjoying it, and they're going back to see it again and again. So I think for the most part the acting is on point. Chris Pine does a good job in here. He's also climbing that ladder of greatness. I mean, everything I've seen him in since Star Trek, since the J.J. Abrams Star Trek reboot, I've liked this guy a lot. He's just really, really well done. Um, and he did a great job as Steve Trevor in here. So I liked him in here as well. And I also like that despite the fact that he is Diana's love interest, he doesn't overtake her story. This is still Diana's story. So big ups again for Patty Jenkins and the writers on this movie for keeping Diana front and center. Now, speaking of the love interest thing, I think they did a good job with Steve and Diana's relationship. I really liked how, it felt so natural, and it didn't feel forced, and it didn't feel like they were trying to give us a slow burn thing, excuse me. But it just felt so natural, and I really, really liked it a lot. When Diana leaves Themyscira to go to man's world. Now, hold on here, I have my notes. So, I thought that, speaking of the story and the pacing, I thought the story, of course, was well done. It was pretty straightforward. It is not confusing. I was afraid that when I saw the trailers of her talking in present day and going back to World War I setting, I was afraid they were going to keep doing the flashback to, like they do on Arrow, like they were going to flash back to past and then present day. They were going to keep doing that throughout the film, but no, they keep it in the past. The movie starts out in present day, her telling the story, narrating it, and then it ends with her narrating it. And then the middle film is just all set in the past. So I like that they did that. That was a smart choice. So the story, like I said, straightforward, and the pacing, well done. Really well-paced film. I didn't have a problem with the beats in this film. I didn't feel like, okay, this is getting too slow now. I'm ready to move on to other things. It just felt natural and it flowed beautifully. Now, if it were up to me, minor gripe, I think, although we got to know Themyscira / Paradise Island well and the other Amazons, I would have spent like a little bit more time on Paradise Island just to get to know the politics of the Amazons and things like that, because we did get to know Paradise Island, but like I really wanted to spend more time there just because I was really enjoying that, just seeing all these kick-ass women on screen. I love how diverse the Amazonian culture is. It's not just white women. They got black Amazons, African Amazons. There were Asian Amazons, so they really did a good job with the diversity with the Amazonian culture. So I really like that a lot. But yeah, that's like my only minor gripe. Just a little bit more time on Themyscira would have been nice. And hey, but hell, when she goes to man's world, it gets really interesting. Also, they changed the setting from World War II to World War I, which I'm fine with. I mean, obviously, this DCEU doesn't follow the comics accurately, and they're embracing more of the New 52 / DC Rebirth stuff. So, of course, I was expecting changes. And the World War I setting works for me because Diana is the first hero in this universe, which I like a lot. It's not Superman, it's not Batman. Diana was doing this stuff way before Bruce and Clark came along. So I like that twist on it. Obviously in the comics, Superman was created first, and then Batman came along, and then Wonder Woman. But they sort of took a slight size mix reverse on it, and I like that a lot. So that was cool. I thought the explanation of the gods and Ares and Zeus and all of that, and how mankind came along and how they became more corrupt, that was well done. And I love the visuals when they did that. The paintings were moving and things like that. It was so beautifully done. I really, really love that Renaissance / painting. And making the pictures move as it was being narrated. That was just, I love that. I love that stuff when they do that in movies. Um, Speaking of the villain Ares and the guys and stuff, Ares I thought was a really well done villain. He wasn't too overly complicated. It was, again, straightforward. You know, like everything in this movie is straightforward. Nothing is, they don't try to overcomplicate it. They keep things simple so that the audience can understand, but also it is complex. It's not just dumbed down. That's what I also like about the film. It's not dumbed down. And I thought that Ares was a really good villain. First villain for Diana's movie. You know, he challenged her through what was happening in World War One and the complexity of that. And I was just really pleased with that. I also thought that the secondary characters in here, with Chief, was really well done, and his Native American culture. I thought it was beautiful, that line where he says, you know, my people were killed off by Chris Pine's Steve Revers people. And, you know, making that all more realistic and more identifiable and relatable to Native Americans who might have been watching the film, and also on a human level. That stuff would happen with American history, you know, and how the European influence came over here to this land, and they, you know, poisoned Native Americans and half killed off, you know, half committed genocide on Native Americans, and they put that in this universe, in this movie. And I like that they don't shy away from that. That's one thing I really do like about the DCEU is it's not just because it's a superhero, it's not just old jokes and action. They put real themes in here, and it makes it that much more enjoyable and that much more interesting to talk about once the film is over. So I like that part a lot. And what was I going to talk about? I talked about the villains. I also thought that Diana's character arc was beautiful. I mean, she grew up in paradise. She's heard about wars and things like that, but when she comes to Man World, her eyes are just open to how messed up mankind really is. You know, her innocence going away was just really kind of sad. I mean, she was so, you know, just innocent, man. Like, and then she has to see the ugliness of mankind. I thought that was really, her character arc was so beautifully done in here. Now, you know, the future of the DCEU is, if it's going to be like this, it's going to be right. I think, I mean, it's hard to judge. Like I said, it's hard to judge DC movies because they're also all over the place, and it's always been like that. Like, when DC puts out a good movie, it's really, really good. Like, it's everlasting. Like, you know, Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, but like, you get stuff like, you know, Man of Steel, which I do like, again, but you get stuff like Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad and Jonah Hex and the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie, and they're just like, they don't really seem to connect with the audiences. Warner Brothers has always had a trouble with doing DC properties. I mean, even going back to the Burton and Schumacher era, I mean, those movies aren't really good. Those movies suck. But I don't know. If they can keep on track like this, the DCU is looking good. You know, I hope, you know, rest in peace to Zack Snyder's daughter. Very sad of what happened to his daughter. To hear that he had to step away from Justice League, and, you know, he wants to go take care and spend time with his family. And that's understandable, of course. So, you know, but now Joss Whedon is taking over, and I mean, nothing against the MCU, but like, I'm just sort of bored with the MCU way of doing things. You know, I thought the first Avengers movie was The second one I didn't really care for. And most of the films, in my personal opinion, are just I mean, as far as Joss Whedon go, I'm kind of mixed on him. I'm not a super fan, but like, I guess it's okay to choose him to pick up where Zack Snyder left off, and hey, we're gonna get what we're gonna get. So hopefully it's good. I hope it's great. I hope it gets good reviews, and I hope that people like it. But it's just hard to judge. And Aquaman is looking pretty decent. You know, I'm liking what I'm seeing with the on-set footage. I mean, Mira looks like she's Amber Heard is Mira. They got her in a costume. She looks like she's right out of the comics. She looks very much like Mira from the comics. So I really hope that the future of DCU is bright, man. I hope as time goes on, it gets brighter and it becomes more hopeful, and hopefully we can get a proper um, Superman and Batman film. Hope Aquaman is good. Now, as far as the Flash, if we don't get like a great Flash movie, I won't be too upset because the TV show, I mean, has such an impact. But then again, I have my problems with the Flash CW TV show, so I do want a more interesting Flash story told with better special effects. Of course, with the movies, you always get bigger budgets and stuff like that. So I do want to see the Flash's powers done with better VFX on the big screen. But if we don't get a great Flash movie, we get like an okay Flash movie, I won't like bitch about it. It's just like, okay, that's fine. But Green Lantern for sure, gotta get a better Green Lantern movie. That first one with Ryan Reynolds was ass. And I'm a little excuse me. I'm a little bit split on the whole Cyborg being in Justice League. I don't mind, but of course I would want Martian the Manhunter. I hope that in this universe, if it continues on this good track, that we can get Martian the Manhunter in the Justice League. Again, I'm not hating on Vic. I love Vic. And I'm glad that he's on the Justice League. And I'm happy that he's getting his own movie because Cyborg is a great character. He can hold his own movie. I know he can. That character is very interesting. But like I said, I just missed the classic 7, you know, and Martian Manhunter is the heart and soul of the Justice League. I'm pretty sure anybody who's read Justice League has heard that said before. So hopefully things work out for them. But I love Wonder Woman. I'm going to go see it a couple more times to really support it. I'm glad it's making big bucks. And like I said, man, thank you, Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot and everybody that was involved in this movie, man. You guys nailed it. I loved it. So glad to see that this character is finally got a movie and finally getting the respect she deserves. So go Diana and, man, support this movie. It's great. I love it. Peace.